Welcome to lecture 3, Introduction to Object Oriented Programming. In the last lecture we had seen this program, if you recall, right. So, here we define the class and the objects. So, here the class is student and you can see student S1, right. S1 is the object. So, this S1 object which is invoking the member data, right, ID and name. So, S1 dot ID. So, if you look at the class, you have ID and name as a data members, right, or member data. So, now line number 12 and 13, S1 dot ID, as I said in the last class, this dot operator is a bridge between the object and the data member, right. So, S1 dot ID is 18 and S1 dot name is Virat Kohli, and then we are trying to print these two, and we know we have got this as the output. So, now in today's lecture I will introduce the programming point of view, right, which is called developer C++. So, we will run this code with the help of developer C++. So, we will see the first code, the same code that we have written, right. So, you can use any compiler, and here I mean throughout my lecture I am planning to use this developer C++, right. So, you can install this, and those who have already done the basic C++ programming up to procedural oriented programming you might have done, right. So, we will run the code, this code we have already seen, and we will run the code. So, when I run this code, compile and run the code, so you can see the output over here, alright. So, you will get the output over here. So, when you look at here, right, so you can see 18 and Virat Kohli, alright. So, I will just press escape, press any key to continue. So, we will go to the next part of the slide, right. So, when we run the code, we got this output 18 and Virat Kohli, right. Also we had seen this example, right. Box is the class and you have the objects box 1 and box 2. We use the variable name volume. So, we calculated the volume for both the boxes, right, volume of the box 1 and volume of the box 2. So, when you multiplied height, length and breadth, you will get the output, right. So, this we had seen in the last class, and in fact, when we run the code, right. So, you have height 5.0, length 6.0 and breadth 7.0. Similarly, you have a height 10.0, length 12.0 and breadth 13.0. So, when you calculate the volume, you are seeing the output over here. So, this code also we will run, alright. So, here you go the same code, and if you run this code, compile and run, right. So, you can see the output, right, whatever output we got. So, here you can look and we can see the same output, right. So, again I will go back to the slide. So, both the code we have run and we got this as the output. In the compiler also, developer C++ compiler also, we have got the same output. So, now I will slowly introduce the member function. So, you know in the last two programs how to use the member data, right, or data member. So, now we will introduce the member function, right. So, here you go class student, so which is nothing but a class, right, the class student which is the class, and then here you have a two data members, one is ID, another one is string name, right, one is ID, another one is a string name, both are data members, alright. So, now first time we are seeing the member function, this is called as a member function. So, inside the class you have data member or member data, and this is the member function, alright. So, here it is a insert, alright, I as a integer, string as a n. So, I am just copying, right, this is like a getter and setter. So, you will get the value and set this into ID and name, right, and we have one more function, this is the first function, and we have one more function called display, right. So, we have one more function called display. So, the display will display ID and name, right. So, the display will display the cout ID and name, right. So, this is what we have written in the class. So, you have two member data or data member ID and name, and you have two member functions. So, which are insert and display. So, now we will go to the next slide. So, here you go, So, here you have the main program. We have created two objects, one object is S1 under student class, another object is S2 under student class. So, we have instantiated two objects. So, now I am calling this object S1 is invoking the member function called insert. S1 you have a dot operator exactly like what we had seen in the case of member data, right. So, here it is a member function, the S1 is the object, you have a dot operator and then you have a member function. So, this object is invoking the member function and you are passing two values, right, one is 18, another one is Virat. So, what is happening, it will go to the member function, right. So, this will go to the member function. What is the member function here, right. So, you have passed I is 18 and the string n which is nothing but Virat, n is nothing but Virat. So, that means what will happen, ID will be equal to 18 and the name will be Virat, right. This is what happening in line number 9 and 10. So, when you are calling this function, I will go to the next slide. When you are calling this function S1, the under object S1, so this has ID, that means S1 dot ID will be 18, S1 dot name will be what, Virat, right, and another S2 object which is invoking again insert, right. So, now ID is 45 and n is the string is Rohit. So, now if you look here what will happen, the second class that means second object S2 which is invoking insert, right. Now, I value will take 45, I will write it here for S2, the one I have written is for S1, right. So, in the case of S2 you have I is 45, correct, and that string n is Rohit, this is what we are passing. So, then what will happen, your S2 dot ID will become 45 and S2 dot name will become Rohit, right. Under this object S2, your S2 dot ID is 45 and S2 dot name is Rohit, this is what exactly happening. And now you are calling two different functions, right, two functions under S1 and S2, right, S1 dot display. So, that means this will call display function. So, S1, so remember we know S1 dot ID is 18 and S1 dot name is Virat. So, that will be printed. So, when S1 is invoking display at line number 12, right, you can see at line number 14 see out ID and name. So, that means 18 and Virat will be printing, right. So, similarly, when you are invoking, right, when S2 is invoking display, so we know that under S2 it is 45 and Rohit, alright. So, these will be printed. So, when we run the code, what will happen, alright, these two output we will get 18 Virat, 45 Rohit. So, when you call this function, when S1 is calling display, it will be printing 18 and Virat, and when S2 is invoking display, it will be printing 45 and Rohit. So, this we will also test in our code, right. We will go to Dev C++ and if you look at code 3, so the same code that we have discussed, I have written as a program. When we execute, compile and run, so you can see that the output 18 and Virat, 45 and Rohit you are getting as the output. Okay. I hope it is clear for everyone. So, in this program we have first time we introduce member functions as well. So, two member functions you have seen, one is insert, another one is display. So, now you are more or less clear how to create an object and how this will access a member data that we had seen in the last class, and also we have run the code today, right. And in this program we have seen how to write the member function and how the objects are invoking those member functions. So, with this we will go to the next program. So, which you can see storing and displaying certain information, right. For example, here employee information using function. Okay. So, here the class is employee, it is similar to the previous program, all right. So, here the class is employee and here you have three data members, all right. One is int id, string name and float salary, all right. So, here also we are having the insert member function and display, just an extension of the previous program, all right. So, what I mean to say, so here you can find in the case of insert function you have three arguments, one is int, string, float. So, you can do, all right. This is also like a getter and setter function. So, you get the value in the main program and set this into id, name and salary. Similarly, we are going to display id, name and salary, just the extension of the previous program, all right. So, the main idea is you have to practice. Those who are learning first time object oriented, assume that you are well versed with procedural oriented. So, this is like a practicing the problems or the program. So, now we have created two objects, right, E1 and E2, right. We have instantiated two objects E1 and E2. So, here E1 dot insert I call, that means the object E1 is invoking the insert function. So, here you have 8, right, Ravindra and 50 lakhs, all right. So, the three arguments, the three parameters, three values we are passing 8, Ravindra, let us say 50 lakhs. So, what will happen, this insert, right, this E1 which is invoking insert. So, insert is over here. So, whatever value that we have passed, it will be respectively I, N and S. So, that means when you are assigning I into ID, N into name and S into salary. So, this E1 dot ID whatever we have passed, all right. What did we pass? 8, all right, and E1 dot name. So, name what did we pass? Ravindra, and E1 dot salary 50 lakhs, all right. So, when E1 calls this display function, these three values will be printed. Similarly, E2 is invoking insert. So, here you are passing 99, Ashwin and 75 lakhs, all right. So, those values when you are calling display, all right, that means initially it is assigning, when E2 is calling or invoking this insert, all these values will be assigned to ID, name and salary respectively, all right. So, then when E2 is invoking, correct, when E2 is invoking display, all these will be printed, all these values will be printed. So, you can see line number 25 and 26, E1 is invoking display and E2 is also invoking display, and you know that, right, whatever in line number 23 and 24 should be the output, right. So, you can see the output over here, right. So, this code we will run. So, we will go to Dev C++ and this will be under code 4. So, the same, right, the same program, and if we compile and run, I mean you can find that it is giving the output. So, whatever output that we have got, so you can see that as a output, right. I hope it is clear how to use data member or member data and member functions. So, these are all the examples that we had seen so far. So, now you can think of problems like this, all right. So, this is a simple program. Design a C++ class for basic geometry calculations, right. You can have functions or methods for calculating area, perimeter and other geometric properties of shapes, right. Suppose you are given a program like this, you have to write a program, right. So, design a C++ class for basic geometry calculation. So, you will have a function. So, you have to write a function, that means a member function you have to write. So, that has to calculate area, perimeter and other geometric properties of shapes, right. So, this we will see how we are going to write. Suppose you are getting a program like this. So, here the name of the class is geometry calculator. You can give any name. So, what I have chosen? Geometry calculator, this is the name of the class. So, under this, so there are certain terms, anyway I will introduce. We know what is double, right, static, this part I will come back slightly later, no need to worry right now, all right. This will be covered. So, now if you look at, you have a method, right. So, you have the function. In the C++ we call it is a function, and in Java you call it as a method, right. So, whatever I am saying, it will be understood at one point of time, it is a method or function, you will understand. So, right now we are in C++. So, I call this as a member function. So, here you have the member function. The member function is calculate rectangle area, right. So, we are passing length and width, we will pass in the main, right. The arguments are double as well as double, right, double comma double, right, length and width. So, this will return length into width. So, we know that if you are given a rectangle, length into width is nothing but the area, all right. So, similarly, we have calculate rectangle perimeter of the rectangle. First one is the area, second member function is perimeter of the area. Again length and width as a parameter. So, we know the formula 2 into length plus width. So, that has to return 2 into length plus width, all right. So, we will go to the next slide. I hope you understand up to here, line number 17. So, next geometry is calculate circle area, all right. So, you have a function double calculate circle area, you are passing only radius. So, we know it is pi r squared, return m underscore pi. So, m underscore pi is under math dot h, right, or C math, include C math. You can try either math dot h or C math, simply C math you are including here, right. So, it is a C++ C math, right. Now, if you look at the area of the circle pi r squared, right, m pi into radius, and calculate circle circumference 2 into pi r, 2 pi r, 2 into m pi into radius, all right. So, that is another function, right, this is a fourth function, all right. So, this is 4, this is 3, previously we have this is 2 and this is 1, all right. So, we have seen 4 member functions, and the fifth one is calculate triangle area, area of the triangle, right. So, when you have side A, side B and side C, right. So, 3 sides will be there for the triangle. So, here you have, so you are calculating S is side A plus side B plus side C by 2, right, A plus B plus C by 2, and then you have the formulation square root of S into S minus that side A into S minus side B into S minus side C. Okay. So, this will give you square root of, already we have included C math. So, that will take care for the square root, right, square root of S into S minus A into S minus B into S minus C, right, you might have studied, right. So, we have seen 5 member functions over here, and then, all right. So, your main program will calculate all. So, how it works? So, initially, so the usual variable names they are using length, width, radius, side A, side B, side C, they are all taking the double values. Okay. So, this is not very difficult, you might have studied in the basic programming, procedural oriented programming. So, now we are creating a object, the object is G1 and the class is geometry calculator, this is what we had given, right. So, I created one object, I instantiated one object. Now, this object will invoke calculate rectangle area. So, when it is invoking calculate rectangle area and passing length and width, already we have length and width 5.0 and 3.0, right. So, that means this function, this G1 when it invokes this function, calculate rectangle area will be called. Calculate rectangle area is the first function, first member function. So, that means it will return length into width, right. So, what is the length we passed? We passed length is 5.0 and width is 3.0. So, when you pass both we have to get 15.0, right, that will be the output, right. So, it will print like this, C out rectangle area will be whatever length into width it is going to return. so will be printed, all right. So, this is what exactly happening, right, it is returning length into width, right. Similarly, see out rectangle perimeter, the next second function, all right. So, this will call rectangle perimeter, the second function 2 into length plus width. So, you can calculate, substitute length and width, add those two and multiply by 2, right. This is the second function over. G1 is invoking the second member function, and G1 will invoke the third member function called circle, right, area of the circle. Calculate circle area, you are passing radius, right. So, radius is already there, radius is how much, 4.0. So, we are passing the value 4.0, it will be calculated when the object is invoking this calculate circle area by passing radius, we will get the resultant. Okay. Similarly, the fourth function G1 is invoking calculate circle circumference, right, it will call the fourth member function. Here you go, right, just calculate circle circumference, right. I hope you understood. Now, the last function, the fifth one, G1 is invoking calculate triangle area, you are passing side A, side B and side C, the values, all right. And then we know that, so we have to get the output, right, because it is returning, and then here we are writing all C out statements. The C out statements will print the resultant or computed values. So, if you look at, right, so we are getting the output like this. So, you can verify whatever the values that you are giving. If it is a rectangular area, that particular formulation is being used in the first member function and it is being computed. Similarly, perimeter, area of the circle pi r squared, circle circumference 2 pi r, and also we have the formulation for triangle area, right. So, this we got as a output. So, here if you look, so we have 5 member functions only, right. So, we have 5 member functions. If you look at the class geometry calculator, I do not think we have used any member data, right, or data member. We have not used any, we have used 5 member functions. So, that also you can do that if you are using only member function, and this is an example that is also allowed in C++, also in Java, any object oriented programming. So, now what we can do, we will run this code. So, geometry calculator, if you look at line number 9, that is the first member function, line number 14 which is the second member function, 19, 24 and line number 29 we have fifth member function. So, we have 5 member functions and you can see the main, alright. So, main you have define all the variables length, width, radius, side A, side B, side C, and then line number 46, 47, 50, 51, 54 we are printing, right, the area of the rectangle, perimeter of the rectangle, area of the circle, right, circumference of the circle and triangle area, right. So, G1 is invoking all these 5 member functions, and when you run the code, right, you will get whatever output that we had seen, you can able to see here. Okay. So, this is how we can only use the member function. So, this is an example, it is a good example. There is a possibility or you may ask the question, can we use only functions? So, you can do that, right. So, we will see next example. So, here write a C++ program using class and objects to add 2 distances given in meter and centimeter. So, you are given, right, 2 distances. So, one distance in some meter, right, let us say 8 meter 52 centimeters, another one is 9 meters 72 centimeters. So, when you add both, right, when you are adding both, right, so what is the output that you are going to get, right. So, here we use 2 member data, meters and centimeters. So, now 4 or 5 programs we had seen, I mean you are now familiar with the member data and member functions. So, the class is distance. Right now no need to worry about the access modifier private and public, right. So, we will explain, we will right. This is the introductory class of classes and objects. So, no need to worry right now, all right. So, we have two member data, meters and centimeters, and then you have a member function called get distance. You are taking the input from the users, the user has to give meters and centimeters. So, we create an object and that object will invoke get distance, means you have to pass two values, one is under meter, another one is under centimeter, right. So, now display will display meters and centimeters, right, display will display the distance of meters and centimeters. So, now we can add two distances, right. You might have studied call by reference in basic programming, all right. Anyway, when we talk about the methods or functions, I will introduce. So, here in this case, so what we are doing, it is based on the call by reference address operator, right. So, here you are having two distances D1 and D2, the references will be passed, all right. So, when I try to print, let us say I want to print C out D1. So, D1 will print, if I just put C out D1, print the address of this D1, and when I put C out D2, that is nothing but address of D2, right. So, now what we will do, we will add these two distances. So, distance result, we will have one more, right, one more object result. So, one object is D1, another object is D2, the third object is result. So, we know that, as I said, 8 meters and let us say 51 centimeters, another one is 7 meters and 52 centimeters. So, we know that if you add these two, if it goes beyond 100, right, 100 centimeters is nothing but 1 meter, right. So, here in this case what will happen, 103 we will get, correct. So, that means it will be 3 centimeters, 1 will be added with this. So, 1 plus 8 plus 7, what is that, 16. So, we should get 16 meters and 3 centimeters if we add these two distances. So, now logically you have to write. So, first what we are doing, the D1 dot meters and D2 dot meters will be added. So, that will be stored in result dot meters. So, for example, 8 plus 7, all right. So, 8 plus 7, 15 will be there up to line number 25. Then centimeters I am adding separately, 1 plus 2 is 3, 5 plus 5 is 10, 103, right, 103 centimeters, right. So, separately I have added meters and centimeters. Now, if it is going beyond 100, all right, if it is going beyond 100, so we know that, all right, when it is going beyond 100 means 1 should go, because 100 centimeters is equal to 1 meter. So, that will go over as a meter, right. So, that is what exactly we have to do in the logic, all right. So, if it is going beyond 100, so what we are doing the integer division by 100, all right. So, we are doing the integer division by 100, all right. 103 by 100, how much, 1, all right. So, the 1 will be added with this 15 meters, 1 will be added with this 15 meters, 103 by 100, 1 integer division, both are integers, integer division, you will get 1. So, that means result dot meters will be previously 15, 15 plus 1, how much, 16, this you will get. And then you are using a mod operator, result dot centimeters mod 100, 103 mod 100, remainder is 3. So, 3 will be, right, will be displayed, 3 is the output for centimeters. I hope you understood. So, for the result object, result dot meter is 16 and result dot centimeters is 3. So, here we are using the logic, right, and then this will return result, because the return type is also the object, return type is also the object, yes, which is possible, right. We will extensively study about this. So, right now in this introductory lecture you have to worry about the objects and classes. Extensively we have done, there are some syntax, anyway we will be covering in the due course, right. So, when you run the code, in the case of main program, we are having object distance 1, second object distance 2 and you have result. So, here line number 41 it is asking, line number 40 it is asking enter the first distance, distance 1 dot get distance. So, you are sending something like exactly what we have done 8 meters 51 centimeter, alright. So, this we will give as a input because this is invoking when get distance is getting invoked. So, you can see that get distance what is happening, you have to enter meters and centimeters, correct. So, you have to enter meters and centimeters. Assume that I entered 8 and 51, understood, 8 is a meter and 51 is a centimeter. Similarly, 7 and 52, same example we took, right, understood, meters, right. So, now this result object we have already defined over here, this result object will invoke add distance. So, you are passing distance 1 and distance 2, right. So, distance 1 you are passing, right. So, when you are passing distance 1, this is the object. So, here you have a reference, right. So, distance address D1 which is equal to what we are passing distance 1. So, this is the exact syntax, yeah, this you might have studied in the basic programming, right, procedural oriented, right. So, you might have studied int address A equal to B. So, the meaning is both are pointing to the same address, both your variable A and B are pointing to the same address. In a similar way, the D1 distance, D1 object and distance 1 object both are pointing to the same address. Similarly, for D2 and then you know the procedure, right. We are adding meters, we are adding centimeters and then we have the logic over here, right. Suppose I pass these two values, we also worked out we are going to get this as the output. So, in the main program when you have get distance, distance 2 will also have a get distance, these you are passing, right, and then when I add, right, by passing this addition of these two will be stored in the result object, right, this will be a result object. So, that means result dot meters, result dot centimeters will be displayed once line number 48 this object result will invoke this particular function, right. So, this will be your output, right. So, this you are getting as a output, correct. If you are passing 10 and 95, 20 and 85, you add this, you should get 31 meters and 80 centimeters. So, this we will cross check in your program also, right. So, here you can see when I run the code, I have to get the output like this. All right. So, it is asking enter meters, right, 34 meters I enter, yes, it is asking centimeters, fine, that is for the first distance and the second distance enter meters, enter centimeter and then you will get the final answer. You can verify, right. You see that what is the meters and centimeters, correct. So, you can get the output 45 plus 67 naturally will go beyond 100 and the remainder when you put 1, right. So, 34 plus 23 plus 1 you got 58 meters, right. So, the program is running fine. With this I conclude this lecture and in the next lecture we will continue with classes and objects in Java. Thank you.